This is the new Wacom Intuos Paper Edition. It is the latest version of the Intuos drawing tablet, but with a twist. It comes with a stylus and it comes with a pen. It's a real pen that writes on real paper, and it saves a digital version of your drawing when you're drawing with it on the tablet. And of course, you can still use this as a standard Intuos tablet, so it's kind of like a two-in-one device. And full disclosure, before we get started, Wacom was generous enough to provide this tablet for me to review. The first thing that jumped out to me when I was using this tablet is the quality. The tablet has weight. It's not heavy, but it has weight. It doesn't feel flimsy. It feels solid. The buttons, they click satisfyingly and they don't wiggle. They're nice little design touches, like there's this tiny little light on the ring to let you know which setting is active. And that Wacom surface texture I love is here, and the pen even sounds good when you're using it. I know that this is kind of a weird one, but oftentimes with the less expensive tablets, you actually hear the sound of the pen drawing on plastic, like that hollow plasticky sounds, whereas this sounds more solid. It's got a nice scrape to it. Now, of course, you don't need any of those things to have a good drawing tablet and a good drawing experience, but at the same time, it really reinforces that this is a high quality professional device. And it really kind of makes my little entry-level Intuos feel like a toy. Now, I've said in many of my other reviews that I have gotten really spoiled. I'm used to drawing on a screen where you can look directly at your hand when you're drawing and see what's coming out, whereas in this tablet, you're drawing on the tablet and you're looking ahead of you at your monitor or at your laptop screen and seeing what is being drawn down below. And like anything, it's going to take time to train your hand to match up with what you're seeing on the screen. So I took the advice that Wacom gives you, which is turn off your mouse and use this tablet for a full week and just get used to it and get ready for the feel of it. And I think that really helped me. I got used to using it. I'm still not as fast as, say, drawing on a screen-based tablet, but I found that my accuracy is a lot better and I can actually competently use this thing. This tablet also has touch gestures. They're all here. You've got the pinch and zoom. You've got the two-finger scroll. You've got the moonwalk. Don't actually use that last one. It messes up everything. Now, I found that the touch settings were a mixed bag. For the most part, it's nice to have. It's a good addition to the tablet, but I found that with my particular setup, it often got in the way. The big problem was that whenever I reached over my tablet, if I brushed the tablet surface with any part of my hand, it would lose focus on the window that I was trying to type into, or it would replace the cursor in the document as I was typing. All of this comes down to the fact that I don't have a lot of like desk area to use over here, and so my keyboard had to be placed behind my tablet. And of course, if you have more space and you can put your keyboard off to the side, you know, you're probably going to be better off than I was. Dang hands, always getting in the way. So I wound up finding myself turning touch off most of the time. Fortunately for me, there is a button along the side that will turn that off for you. I really liked this. I think if this was one of those things that could only be toggled on and off in the settings, I would turn them off and never turn it back on. But by having that physical button along the side that you can toggle on and off, it let me turn it on when I need it and turn it off when I don't. So drawing, it feels really good. The pen that it comes with is the new Wacom Pro Pen 2. This is the pen that comes with the new Cintiqs and the new Mobile Studio Pros. It has over 8,000 levels of pressure sensitivity, and overall, I didn't really notice like a huge jump between the old pens that had 2,000 levels of pressure sensitivity and these. But I will say this, a lot of people have said in the comments that they've noticed with other devices out there, like for example the Surface Pro pen, that you have to press a little bit harder to get that initial activation force on the pressure of the pen. So for light sketchers, they're often readjusting it and they don't care for it quite as much as the Wacom pens. And I never really noticed that before until I started using the Pro pens too. Maybe it's those extra levels of pressure sensitivity, but a very light touch is going to start registering that pen as drawing. So if you're a light sketcher, this might be a really nice addition for you. Now, the thing that has always jumped out at me when I'm using an Intuos tablet of any kind is the surface texture. Doesn't seem like that big of a deal until you've used like pure glass or used screen protectors on other tablets to replicate that kind of texture. The texture here is perfect. It feels great. You can also go on the online store for Wacom and buy different textures. They have a slightly smoother version and a slightly rougher version as well. Or if by any chance that texture gets worn down over time, you can get a replacement one and make your Intuos tablet feel like new again. Then there are the Express keys, I am a fan of the Express keys. Now, I didn't use the Express keys on the smaller Intuos, partly because they were along the top, but I think having them along the side is really comfortable for where you like rest your hand on the device. It also has this neat feature that if you rest your finger along any one of the Express keys on your screen, you're going to see a little shortcut mapping thingamabob that tells you what each key does. And of course, like all Wacom tablets, there's the little ring thing. This comes in handy for like zooming, rotating your canvas, changing brush sizes. On the Mac, the touch ring was kind of touchy. I found that it was like super sensitive. If I touched it at all, my brush size would jump from like 10 to 60 in the smallest little touch on that ring. And I just wanted to go up by like 1 or 2, and so I was able to go into the settings on the Mac and turn the sensitivity all the way down, and then it felt perfect for me. However, if you're the type of person who likes even more incremental control than me, just be aware of that on the Mac, that touch ring is very touchy. Now, on Windows, that wasn't the case at all. I found that the settings were good right outside of the box. I didn't have to go in and change those at all. This is also a Bluetooth tablet, so when you're plugging it in via USB to your computer, it is charging the tablet's battery. And when you unplug it, you can sync this via Bluetooth with your Mac or with your PC and use it as a wireless tablet to draw on. I was finding that I'm getting about 2.5 to 3 days out of each charge with this thing, which I thought was pretty good. So overall, I can say that the Intuos part of this tablet is fantastic. It's exactly what I expected. I think it's a good successor to some of their older Intuos tablets. But what about this paper thing? What's that about? So from what I've gathered from comments in other videos is that this is a little bit confusing. A lot of people think that if you put a piece of paper down on it and use the other pen, it's still going to work like an Intuos, and that whatever you draw there will show up in Photoshop or Sketchbook Pro or Manga Studio or whatever it is you're drawing in. It doesn't exactly work like that. Paper mode requires a separate app, and that app is called Inkscape. There is a desktop version, and there is an iPad/iPhone/Android version as well. Wacom already has 2 tablets out there that only are like paper mode. They're called the Bamboo Slate and Bamboo Folio. Full disclosure, I reviewed the Bamboo Slate last fall, and I didn't care for it, and I was kind of dreading this part of the review because of it. It wasn't so much the hardware, it was the software and the cloud service that was either super confusing on a good day or just plain broken on a bad day. So I have good news and bad news. The good news is that there is now a new desktop app, and I found that the desktop app works way, way better than the iPad apps. The bad news is that the iPad app, I still had some problems, getting this thing to sync to it. So overall, if you're going into this, I would say expect to just use the desktop app when you're syncing with the paper edition, and don't even think about the iOS app at this point. If they get it working and working well, that's just a bonus down the road. All right, so here's a quick and dirty rundown of how the paper edition works. You can take this tablet anywhere. It doesn't have to be plugged into a computer or anything. Just place a piece of paper in the live area between these little white thingamajiggers, and then everything you draw with the pen that is included will be saved digitally. You'll know that it's working because as the pen gets nearer, you're going to see this little green light that comes on in that little circle button. Once you start writing, the light is going to turn blue, and when you finish one page of notes, just press that button and you're going to start a new page. The light will turn green until you start writing again, and that's how you know that a new page has been started. It saves up to 200 pages in memory, so you could just write and write and write and write. That middle button also can create layers for you, so instead of tapping it once to create a new page, if you tap it twice in quick succession, it will just create a new layer in the same document instead. And when you're done, all you have to do is plug it into your computer via the USB cable. The Inkscape app will open up and you will be able to just magically see your documents appear there. I think one of the things I like about the desktop app is that it's not trying to do too much. All it really is an importer, and it lets you save an SVG file. In the past, that was something that you had to pay for Wacom's cloud service in order to export a vector file from it, so it's nice that you can actually do that without, setting up an account and paying the extra money and that sort of thing. Now, I should point out, it's only going to work with the pen that comes with the tablet. Fortunately, the pen also comes with 3 extra refills if you buy the paper edition. The folks over at Wacom also told me that all Intuos Pro tablets that have just been released have the ability to work as paper editions. those tablets just aren't necessarily sold with the pen and the clip and the paper and that sort of thing. And they also told me that they're going to be selling those things later on in the Wacom store, but the most cost-effective way to get them is to actually buy the paper edition up front. The tablet comes with a handful of pieces of paper. However, you can, of course, use your own paper. In fact, I was kind of curious, so I decided to use my sketchbook. Now, it recommends that you just use pieces of paper and nothing too thick because you might lose strokes. But heck, I was curious. Now, when I placed my sketchbook on there, I took 2 pages of notes. The thinner side of the sketchbook, the notes took really well. The thicker side of the sketchbook, it lost a lot of strokes on it. So you can actually use a sketchbook, and this is a pretty, heavy cover on it. So those lines went through a lot of pages to get on there. So the Moleskine is probably a little bit too thick because sometimes it's going to work well for you, sometimes it's not going to work well for you, depending on how many pages you have in between. However, if you're using like a smaller notebook or like a field notes type thing that's kind of thick, you could definitely put one of those on this tablet, and it's going to capture your notes just fine. Also, in general, as far as like what it was capturing and the accuracy of what it was capturing was fantastic. I thought it was great. It even gets like the little trailing parts of your handwriting and all the intricacies and everything like that. I was really impressed with how it really lost nothing when you were drawing on a piece of paper with this. So as far as the iOS app goes, I couldn't actually get it to find the device. I also was kind of confused. I assumed that the iOS app works with this thing. It doesn't say that it does. It doesn't say that it doesn't. I think overall, this particular tablet doesn't have a lot of documentation with it and a lot of description with it. However, I did find it, considerably easier to use. Because the setup for the desktop app actually kind of walked you through how to like create pages and stuff, which was one of the huge problems with the other bamboo tablet that I'd used back in the fall, is they just never told you how to use it. And so it was just pure trial and error. So this one does that better. It's not perfect. Could be better, but I think this is a step in the right direction. So I guess overall the good news here is that the paper edition of the tablet went far better than I expected it to, and went far better than the bamboo tablet that I tested back in the fall. Now, like I mentioned earlier, most of the time I was using this on my Mac. I did plug it into the PC to give that a shot as well. Overall, it worked pretty well. I did have some problems with the touch gestures on the PC. Basically, what was happening is my cursor was stuck in the upper left-hand corner, so I wasn't really able to use touch gestures the way I wanted to. I Googled it and I was like troubleshooting it a little bit, and it looks like there definitely is a solution. Other people have run into it too and been able to solve it. However, I ran out of time and patience when I was trying to troubleshoot that for Windows. But I guess it is something that can be solved. I just wasn't able to do it myself. I also couldn't get the tablet to sync via Bluetooth on Windows. That was another thing where I don't know if it was because I had already tried to sync it up with my Mac and that it worked okay, or what was going on. I've always had trouble with Bluetooth devices. So in general, my experience is that when I first set it up on my Mac, everything went really smoothly. When I moved it over to Windows and started setting things up, I ran into more bumps and bruises, with the drivers and with the setup process. So that is the Intuos Pro Paper Edition. Overall, I think this is a fantastic upgrade for those of you who already have an older Intuos and looking to go up, or anybody who has, maybe a smaller entry-level tablet and is ready to go to that pro-level Intuos. This is solid. I also like the idea of the Paper Edition now that they've gotten a lot of the software kinks worked out. It's far more useful, and I can actually see myself taking notes on this thing. That's the review. Thanks for watching to the end. I appreciate all the help that you guys have given to my channel over the years, especially those of you who have supported me over on Patreon and those of you who have liked my videos and really helped me out. Another way you can support the channel is by clicking on any of the Amazon links. Like if you're going to purchase this tablet, clicking the Amazon link down below will help me out. Get a couple cents from each time you buy something via Amazon that way. That's all I've got. If you want to know anything else that I didn't cover here, let me know down in the comments, or of course you could always hit me up on Twitter. I'll see you guys in a few days.